It's time for some Animal Crossing hot takes. Now that the game has been out for over 4 years, and a new one is probably on the way sooner rather than later, we gotta let Nintendo know all of our opinions, because this is the internet. And this is the place where we spill the tea, air out our dirty laundry, air out other people's dirty laundry, and basically everything else that happens when you hide behind a keyboard and an anonymous username. I asked you guys your Animal Crossing hot takes, and a lot of you had a lot to say. Some of these I had to skip over because they weren't really hot takes. A lot of them were more on the side of popular takes, which is fine. That just means you have good opinions. But I am only going to include some of the most controversial opinions. So let's go. The loading is too fast and could use a bit of slowing down. If this was anyone else, I would say, you're insane. But it's Dagnall. We already know he's insane. It's expected. This is probably one of the hottest takes here, so I had to include it. The loading screens for this game are incredibly slow, but that's because it takes a bit to load all of the furniture lag that we experience. Okay, realistically, this game is calculating a lot of changes at the beginning of the day, between trees growing, turnip prices, villager locations, special characters, items available for the day. There are so many things. The loading screens are exactly as long as they need to be. Could they be shortened? Maybe with the Switch 2 and a better/faster processor, which I assume is coming. We'll have to wait for Animal Crossing New Space to see if Nintendo has decided to improve the minute-and-a-half worth of loading screens it takes to get to and from a mystery island in the next game. If you guys don't know Dagnall, please go subscribe. He does amazing challenges and actually finishes them, unlike someone. Go watch his stuff, he streams on Twitch too. Having total control over your villagers, layout, and how everything looked was a net loss. Part of the charm was the randomness, which villagers moved in, where villagers would put their house, etc. You had to work with what you got. This I kind of agree with, though it is still a hot take. We have all the control over our islands. The only thing we can't really control is the location of resident services and our airport. But all you have to do is keep resetting your 4 island options before you start your save file to manipulate RNG to give you something you can work with. So in the end, we do still have some control over it. As much as I love villager hunting, I do miss logging in for the day and being forced to get a random villager in your town. It added some anticipation when logging on for the day that I don't get with New Horizons. If that villager wanted to place their house in the middle of your perfect tree orchard, well, that's what happened. And you had to deal with the consequences of having a perfect tree orchard in the spot that a villager wanted to move in. I think decorating outside is why this is no longer a mechanic. Imagine spending hours designing a spot just to have Beryl move his lips on top of your hard work. So unfortunately, this mechanic had to be removed from the series. There is a lot of charm from the old games that had to be reworked because of the new features of New Horizons, which is an unfortunate loss. But they were necessary changes, is what it is kind of thing. But I do agree, the randomness of New Leaf, I do kind of miss it. Before we get into more hot takes, I wanted to make a hot dinner with today's sponsor, Factor. With Factor, you can eat fresh, never frozen, pre-prepared meals that are chef-crafted and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. There are over 35 different meal options to pick from each week, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or vegan and vegetarian meals. There's also a ton of add-ons available in the marketplace every week, including the best smoothies ever. Ugh. You're definitely sick of hearing me say this, but I can't get enough of them. They're so good. And they're good for you. Common Factor W, Riz Skibbity Boomer, right, chat? Factor makes meal planning and dinner easy. No more having to set aside your night trying to cook something. Factor does everything for you. You'll have a plethora of ready-to-eat meals waiting for you to devour. Hot take, but I kind of hate cooking in Animal Crossing, so I would totally have Factor delivered to me on my island. Sometimes you just don't have time to cook, in real life or in the game. Factor has gourmet meals if you're feeling extra fancy. There are meals that feature premium ingredients like filet, shrimp, truffle butter, and asparagus. Tom Nook could never. Try Factor out for yourself. Get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Now that we've been fed a hot meal, let's get back to more hot takes. New Horizons is the best iteration of Animal Crossing. It has laid down the building blocks for the next entry into the series. This is definitely a hot take with the veterans of the series. Most old school Animal Crossing players think that New Leaf is the better game. You can think what you want, obviously, but you're wrong. Crispy does have a good point here. New Leaf felt like the end of an era. It took all of the best mechanics of the last 20 years and improved upon them and threw them all into one game. New Horizons seems to be almost like a turning point in the series. We have the old games, and now we have the new. This most recent installment definitely shifted the direction of the games. It feels like a good setup game. We got introduced to crafting, more robust decorating, new mechanics like villager hunting and mystery island hopping. We're going to see a new direction with these Animal Crossing games. And I think that's a good thing. How much more could Nintendo have done with the New Leaf style of games? Not much. New Leaf kind of did it all. If New Horizons followed more of the old formula, we all would have complained about how it was too similar to the previous game, just like we did with City Folk and Wild World. We needed a complete refresh. So while I do miss the old games, I can always go back and play them. They literally run forever. Well, until whatever year that Nintendo has coded into them to stop working, but we'll ignore that part. 2060 is really far away. Zipper is cute and works very hard. Get out. You're not allowed to play Animal Crossing. This is the worst take ever. This dude just sits here, jumping up and down. Is he depressed? Probably, but he's kind of bringing that on himself. He hates his holiday, but so do the rest of us. He hates rabbit hopping, and he hates his maybe fake costume. He could just stop. Problem solved. Also, working hard? Pfft, no. I mean, maybe it takes a while to completely replace all of our island's resources with eggs, but again, he brought that on himself. We most certainly did not ask him to do that. Zipper is the worst special character. We all agree. Frida, you, my friend, have the hottest take. Congrats. I want a complete game with 0 updates. New Leaf did incredibly well for years with no updates. Some people got accustomed to constant new content in AC&H, and it killed what the community once was. This is a hot take in not only Animal Crossing, but just the general gaming community at this point. If your game doesn't come with constant updates or some kind of roadmap, then people hate it. I laugh every time I see someone say that a single-player story game is dead after a month. The game isn't dead, okay? People just finished. You can finish games. A lot of people want their $60 to go far, which I understand. I'm the same way. If I had the choice between a complete game that didn't get updates and an equally complete game that promised additional content at some point in the future, I'm usually gonna go for the latter option. In my eyes, I feel like I'm getting more value for my dollar if I have a reason to come back to the game thanks to more content. There's more game to play. Keyword here is complete game. And I think that's where New Horizons messed up. We were given a very incomplete experience at the beginning of New Horizons' life. Minus the fact that the holidays were time-locked, I won't get into that. We didn't have normal mechanics like diving or art in the museum until an update happened. And while this may have been good for newbies to the series, it was a lackluster experience for the rest of us. That first update took a minute to hit our games, and as a result, many players did everything you could do up until that point and had fallen off the game. Those base mechanics should have been included from the start, and the updates should have consisted of the new content that we got with the 2.0 update. Something like that would have been more acceptable for veteran players. The other base mechanics, like swimming, could have just been locked behind tutorial, similar to how we needed to progress to unlock the vaulting pole or the ladder. Let the newbies be less overwhelmed that way, but still include everything to make the game a complete game for everyone else. But the gaming world itself has completely changed. Nintendo probably wanted to satisfy the average player, not the die-hard play 200 hours in the first month gamer. However, the devs should still know that we exist, the diehards. We've seen examples of this with Nintendo games, most notably Splatoon 3. The devs are starting to recognize that there are insane gamers out there that just want to grind and play thousands of hours of their favorite game. Hopefully, the next Animal Crossing has something for those people, and we won't just be stuck villager hunting. I don't hate how nice and polite the villagers are. They're close to how they are in the Japanese version of the game. The problem lies within how talking to the villagers works. It's mostly just pressing a button on a doll with a voice box. I just wish it felt more like an actual conversation. Half hot take, half very valid take. I think we can all agree that talking to the villagers can be vastly improved. They really missed the mark with them. Thank God some of them are adorable, or else these things would be completely useless. I don't really know how Nintendo can make these personalities more enticing, which I think is why most of us just ask them to be mean again. At least it's something different, something worth reading. Right now, their dialogue, it's not really worth our time. And I feel bad saying that because someone worked really hard to come up with all of their dialogue and type it out into code and make it into a game. They just need more something. Just more. Outside of visual novel games that literally tell you a story based on the characters, can't really think of a game that has decent character dialogue. Maybe the hard events from Stardew Valley, but even in that game, the daily conversations are pretty lackluster. It's definitely something that most life sims need to work on. We need a revamp, somehow, somewhere. Someone help. There are way more hot takes. I only grabbed a few of the top ones and didn't even get to all the screenshots that I saved for this video, so I'll have to do a part 2 at some point. Also, I apologize for the lack of videos and streams. If you didn't see my announcement, I did just kind of do a thing called birthing a tiny human, and unsurprisingly, these tiny humans take up all the time in the world. So thank you for dealing with sponsorships that I'm going to have to take to pay my American hospital bills, but I will try to get on a more consistent schedule soon once said tiny human also gets on a more consistent schedule. So thank you for your patience. What is your Animal Crossing hot take? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!